From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, August the 29th, 2023. The opening session of the 78th United Nations General Assembly is 1 week away, and U.S. Ambassador to the UN Linda Thomas-Greenfield hosted Jewish organization leaders and other officials, including U.S. Special Envoy to Monitor and Combat Anti-Semitism, Ambassador Deborah Lipstadt, at the U.S. mission to the UN yesterday to preview UNGA's priorities. Director of Communications and spokesperson for the mission, Nate Evans, wrote that at the gathering, Thomas-Greenfield also underscored the United States' robust commitment to countering anti-Semitism around the world and anti-Israel bias at the UN. The 78th session of the UNGA will open on Tuesday, September the 5th. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Galant was at the United Nations yesterday, where he met with Ambassador Thomas-Greenfield to discuss regional security and issues of shared concern, according to a readout from the U.S. mission, who said the ambassador reaffirmed United States' ironclad, unwavering commitment to Israel's security and condemned recent acts of terror against Israeli citizens. She underscored that the U.S. continues to believe that a negotiated two-state solution is the best way to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and achieve equal measures of security, prosperity, freedom, and democracy for Israelis and Palestinians alike. Galant also met with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, together with Israel's ambassador to the UN, Gilad Erdan. Galant writing, "In our meeting, we discussed the violations of Hezbollah's sovereignty on the northern border, the Iranian attempts to push the terrorist organizations to act against Israel, and the need to promote the issue of prisoners and missing persons held in the Gaza Strip." Galant referring there to the remains of IDF soldiers Lieutenant Hadar Golden and Staff Sergeant Oron Shaul, which have been held in Gaza since 2014 by terror group Hamas, who is also holding two Israeli civilians, Avira Mengistu and Hisham al-Sayed. And before heading to New York, Galant was in Chicago, where he spoke at the city's Friends of the IDF event in support of college scholarships for IDF combat veterans Sunday evening. Galant telling the crowd, "Over the past weeks, we have experienced a wave of terror attacks in Israel. And while facing complex challenges, we know that our bond with the United States is a pillar of Israel's security." Saying, "As Minister of Defense, I have set a clear directive placing the ties between the United States and Israel above all." Galant added, "I will do everything in my power to defend the state of Israel, to protect the IDF and its commanders, and to unite our society." Well, a plane full of Israelis was allowed to make an emergency landing in Saudi Arabia last night. The Air Seychelles flight from the Seychelles to Tel Aviv had to be diverted to Jeddah after experiencing an electrical malfunction. 128 Israelis were among the passengers on board, who were put up at an airport hotel, and the Israelis saying they were warmly treated by the Saudis. A replacement flight brought them back to Israel this morning in what is said to be the first passenger flight from Saudi Arabia to Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said earlier today, "I greatly appreciate the warm attitude of the Saudi authorities to the Israeli passengers whose flight was in distress and was compelled to make an emergency landing in Jeddah. I am pleased that they are all coming home. I greatly appreciate the good neighborliness," the Prime Minister said. The incident comes on the backdrop of reported efforts towards a normalization deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, August the 29th. At 7 o'clock, Robert Siegel talks about how and why climate change is happening and what, if anything, can be done, with guests Gavin Schmidt, Rachel Cleetus, and Elizabeth Kolbert. At 8, it's part 1 of a 6-part series that explores the incredible landscape of Israeli climate change innovations and maps the current trends in the field with John Medved and Dr. Tareq Abu Hamed. At 9, it's Kenneth Levin on L'chaim. At 10, a discussion on Jews and Muslims with Rabbi Marc Schneier and Imam Shamsi Ali. And coming up next, it's the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, August the 29th, 2023. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well.